If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hill, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello everyone, hope you're all right and looking forward to episode 11. Thanks for all the feedback on episode 10, that, you know, my solo one. I was so nervous about doing a solo one, but you lot liked it, so there's going to be another one. Not yet, but you know, when needed. But yeah, thanks so much. How has your week been? I have got a cold, so that's really great. Loving having the snotty nose, but that's because my son has had a cold for about 2 weeks, and finally me and his father has succumbed to it, which is glorious. It could be worse though. It could be COVID, and it's definitely not COVID because we've been testing every single day because my husband loves testing my son. Does anyone else actually enjoy doing it? My boy's quite laid back, so he just takes the thing up his mouth and at the back of his throat. He's fine with it, and my husband laughs every time he gags. So says you a lot about my husband, doesn't it? I have been very busy this week with my coaching business. Actually, I've been very busy with both businesses. I was working till 11:30 last night making Christmas puddings, which are almost all finished. I think a lot of them are going to go out today. Christmas puddings in the wire sense, of course. And I've almost finished a ton of Rudolphs as well, which are all the Christmas decorations. Reminded my customers that this Sunday, the 21st of November, is the last chance to order custom wire words. So if you were thinking about it and you're listening, get involved, because you've only got till Sunday, and then any orders after that I can't guarantee before Christmas. And what else have we been working on? Oh yeah, I've launched some training that I'm going to deliver in a couple of weeks on the 30th of November. I'm pretty chuffed with the name of it, though. To be honest, is a bit long-winded, but it says what it does on the tin. It's called Unlock More Income in Your Small Business Warrior Energy with the Vivid Formula. So it's all about using, because I basically use a formula for my business of how to manage it all and how to create content, increase income. It's all sort of very mathematical in a way, very strategic, analytical. And that's because I think my brain is built like that, because I used to be a maths teacher and I adore maths. So I love things flowing in brilliant systems. And if I don't fit into that system, or I don't work to that system on a particular day, I do find that I lose my momentum. And the way that I've built my businesses is that the strategy gives me momentum and helps me stay motivated. So because being a small business owner or being self-employed, you have to be so motivated every single day because you've got to go out there and you've got to earn your living. And I've created my business to be able to feed me energy when I'm low on energy, and then I feed it back. It's quite I was going to say a long word then. Symbiotic. That don't even make sense, does it? Does it though? Does it? Symbiotic. I'm just going to pause there to see and Google it just to check. Oh, so I was right. It's about a symbiotic relationship. It's a close ecological relationship with the individuals of two or more different species. And usually they benefit both. But that is to do with animals. But anyway, they get on, me and my businesses. So I've created a training that has one session which is 90 minutes long and one session which is a follow-up session, the date to be announced, because it depends what everyone wants, whether they want it a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later. It's up to everybody who's participating. You get a workbook and you get access to a Facebook group where we all hold each other accountable for the work that we're doing. So I'm really excited about it. There's an early bird price at the minute. I'll put the link in the show notes, and then the price is going to go up at the weekend. But I think I'm going to do a few rounds of this because coming into the new year, I'm launching a group coaching program, which combines group coaching and training with one-to-one coaching, which I'm really excited about. Really mega excited about. Like going into 2022 with that kind of support is going to be huge. So yeah, I'll just be working all our sends, but I'm treating myself because when I finish recording this little intro, I'm going to go and get my nails done. So, and I haven't had my nails done since my wedding 4 years ago. I mean, I've done my own nails, but you know what I mean? I'm actually getting them done. So I'm very excited. So today I interviewed Lauren Malone. Lauren Malone is the CEO of Lemon Tree Coaching and Development, and she also runs a Facebook group called Lemonade, and it's all about positive mindset and how you can transform your business and your life with the right mindset. She's an NLP practitioner, but also she studied neuroscience and psychology, and she's the guest host for BBC Radio as well, talking about mindset. So absolute mindset expert, and she helps release limiting beliefs as well. So she's basically an absolute pro of mindset. Absolutely loved talking to her. She's totally on my wavelength, and I wanted this podcast episode to be for those people who would love to improve their mindset but have no idea where to start, and Lauren is your girl. So enjoy. Hello, Lauren.
Hello.
Welcome to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So for people that don't know who you are, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. My name is Lauren Malone, and I am the founder of Lemon Tree Coaching and Development. I'm a business and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs. And I just really love everything to do with mindset and female empowerment, and that women feeling stronger within themselves helps them be better entrepreneurs, which is a really important part of our sort of global conversation and personal conversation. I just think it's fabulous.
Oh, amazing. Excellent. How did you get into this kind of work?
So before, I always call it sort of in a past life. And my past life when I was employed, I worked for a really long time in hospitality. And I then went into management and leadership. And that led to a job in training, and actually training people in communication and training people in management and leadership skills. And while I really enjoyed that, I always sort of had this idea that it would be quite nice to start my own business. And I didn't quite know what it would be, but wouldn't it be nice to be my own boss? And, you know, but there was this tug that was telling me that maybe I'd sort of missed the boat. Maybe I was a bit late. Maybe I was on a different path. And maybe that someone else had got there first. And that this sort of idea that I was a bit late to be successful. And then I started studying mindset and studied something that the listeners may have heard of. It's called NLP, so that's neuro-linguistic programming, and it's basically how we talk to ourselves. And I studied that, and my whole world basically changed in that sort of moment. And I had these realizations that what am I talking about? Missed the boat. That's absolutely nonsense. And then I started questioning, hold on, well, why is a 30-something, early 30s-year-old woman saying things like this to herself? What is it about our society that we're saying to women about that? And I felt really, really strongly that actually not only could I do it, but anyone could do it. And this idea of success, that I'd missed it. Well, hold on, success is abundant. Anyone can have success because the pool is limitless. And just because someone else might be drinking from it doesn't mean that I can't have a big glug myself. And that was back in January 2019. And I decided to just go for it. And then things slightly changed. I got pregnant with my first child sort of in that early part of 2019. And I was like, hold on, like, how's this going to work? And I looked, as we all do, I looked to the internet for advice and for support, and I basically didn't find any. I found, don't do it, and it'll be too difficult. And, even the implication that I'd be a bad mum for trying. So I quit my job and I started my business at 8 weeks pregnant. And it's really spurred me that passion of what are we doing telling women that they can't do things when they can absolutely do things. And I no longer tell myself those stories, and I'm really passionate about helping people stop telling themselves that story as well.
Oh, you've just said that so wonderfully. I I love the fact that you said about how success is abundant.
Mm.
And abundant, I think the word has become a little bit woo-woo in some people's opinions, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's a better word that you could use to
Hmm.
describe how the fact that everybody can be successful, there's enough room for everybody,
Yeah.
and that they shouldn't hold themselves back because they think, oh, well, someone else is doing it the same, or someone is has already done it before. Who am I to do it differently? But when I speak to people about things like that, it's always, but you're doing it now. You're
Mm.
making that product. You're doing that small business. That's what makes it different. And there's only ever one of you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been grown up or brought up, sorry, to believe that business and entrepreneurship is like a dog eat dog world, and that we should all be looking out for our competitors snapping at our heels and all this kind of quite a masculine energy, I tend to refer it to. But there's definitely a rise in a new way of thinking. When I say masculine and feminine energy, it's not about male or female, it's just what I call it.
Mm.
And this rise of feminine energy that actually you can do business with compassion and you can do it with empathy. And actually, the idea of competition, like you said, it doesn't exist because no one else can be doing it the way you're doing it.
Mm.
And that's completely unique, and there is space for you to make a difference.
Yeah, I did a post not too long ago on my coaching profile about that I'm not in competition with anybody because I
Yeah.
want everybody to win,
Mm-hmm.
and there really is that mindset shift. So my main business, Vivi Wire, is a product based
Mm-hmm.
art business, and the there is so much feeling out there with other small business holders that owners, sorry, who make products if somebody copies them. Now obviously we don't like copying, don't
Mm.
nobody
Yeah.
should be copying, but it's the fact that if there is somebody else out there, for example another wire artist, we can both exist and create
Yeah.
beautiful work because different customers will be drawn to us in different
Mm-hmm.
ways. And the idea that there's we should all be supporting each other, but there's also that shift now in attitude. I'm sure that you felt the same when when you were at secondary school, of girls against girls, and there's always this
Mm-hmm.
competition,
Yeah.
whereas actually we should be all supporting each other and
Yeah.
raising each other up.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, one of the reasons I love working with women, and I say I only work with women really, is because of that power of when women get together and collaborate and communicate and compassionately support one another, magic really does happen. And it's amazing to see women in community changing how business is done. And I've noticed a change in the nearly 3 years that I've been an entrepreneur. And I hope it continues to change, not just in entrepreneurship, but in the whole of way women are viewed in society. And I think it's really, really important, and it's incredibly powerful to see what's happening and to be part of it. It's amazing.
Amazing. So you said your work is mainly on mindset,
Mhm. Yeah.
and we spoke about before how you've believed that everything starts from mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I do is I help women grow their businesses. So, you know, get more clients, make more money. But I'm very anti sort of hustle culture. So, I sort of encourage women to be able to do that without giving up more time. And I believe that it all starts with mindset, because no strategy in the world is going to work if you don't believe in it, because we create our own reality. And even if we're not doing that consciously, unconsciously, what we're holding on to with our unconscious, deep rooted beliefs, like I said, we might not even be aware that these are happening. And in my experience, these tend to be about the self. So, I'm not good enough, imposter syndrome, things come up with that. About time. So, I don't have enough time. I don't put in enough time. I'm too lazy, those kind of things. Or money. So,
Mm.
people who make a lot of money are greedy, or money is the root of all evil, those kind of beliefs. And what I do is we go, right, well, what are these deep rooted beliefs? And what can we do to change those beliefs? And what impact will that have? Then we can start looking at what strategy will work. Because before we look at that, we're automatically deleting things without really knowing we're doing that. And we
Mm.
want to be open to all the possibilities and all the opportunities out there.
Amazing. Do you feel there are some limiting beliefs that you see quite often appear in some of your clients that are like common ones?
Yeah, so the one example there I used about the self, I'm not good enough. That is a really deep limiting belief. It's one I had, and it's one I see come up quite a lot. And it might come up in different ways, but often when we dig down, that's what it comes down to, that someone doesn't believe that they're good enough. And it was, for me, it manifested in lots of different ways. I talked about not wanting to start a business, not thinking I was good enough to start a business, thinking I'd missed the boat. And that's something a lot of women experience, and it can manifest in lots of different ways. Like I said, imposter syndrome is a manifestation of a limiting
Mm.
belief. Worrying about your competition, comparing yourself to other people, that is a manifestation of a limiting belief of I'm not good enough. And that's one that comes up a lot.
Mm.
Again, money, a really big topic that I talk to my clients about. And often we talk about the idea of money and time not being the same thing. And a lot of people say to me, like, I want to earn whatever it is. And, it's not up to me to judge what that number is. Who cares? But see, I want this figure, but I don't have the time to put in more hours, and that's the only way to get it, right? And it's like,
Mm.
no, not right. But that's what you're telling yourself. And until you stop telling yourself that, that'll be the reality.
Mm. Mm. It's funny when you were talking, going back to comparison.
Mm.
I feel very, with my mindset in comparison, I stay in my lane and I create, and I try and be there for other makers and support them and just cheer everybody on.
Mm.
But there is a trap that I find myself, and it's usually in the evening if I'm really tired, or if I'm having maybe a less productive day because I haven't organised myself in the way that I know I'm
Yeah.
most productive, and I may start scrolling,
Yeah.
and then I find myself it's like I'm being sucked into a whirlpool of comparison,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel rubbish
Yeah.
when I know everything to stop me from doing it. Do you think that is created, that sort of trap of comparison that we get ourselves into? Do you think that's created by our limiting beliefs, or how society, social media is now constructed, or I suppose it's probably a bit of both, isn't
Option three.
it? Yeah, I should say, yeah.
Um, so I think it's a bit of a mixture of both. So, someone who has a limiting belief about themselves that leads to a natural sort of process of comparing themselves, it's made very easy by social media and the scroll culture. And not just the easiness of just scrolling through, but also what we present on social media. And I saw a wonderful quote, and I can't remember, I'm afraid, who it was who shared it, but it was basically saying that what we see on social media is someone else's highlight reel. We don't
Mm.
see all the in the background stuff. And even when we do see background stuff, it's the stuff they want to show us, and that's really, really important. We're comparing our outtakes with their, highlights.
Mm.
And it's very challenging to sort of get yourself out of that mindset when you, like you said, doom scrolling. You sort of go into this sort of
Oh, doom
spiral.
scrolling, that's such a good term, yeah.
And, it's when you're in that behaviour, and I'm really pleased you touched on this, Claire, because you said you know what you need to do to stop yourself getting to that. And that's what it's about. It's not about saying this is the problem, stop doing it. It's going, hold on, what can I do differently in the lead up to the problem? And so noticing, oh, when do I do this? Okay, well, it's the evening. What could I make as a rule? What could I do to change that ensures this behavior doesn't happen before that, if that makes sense? So, okay, could I make sure I'm in a really relaxed place and do some meditation before I sit down and look at my phone? Could I practice some meditation, not meditation, sorry, affirmations that would make me feel really, really good and positive about myself and my business? Maybe some gratitude practice before you sit. And it's not about saying I'll never look at my phone again after 8 o'clock in the evening, because that's not necessarily feasible and not necessarily right for everybody. And it's okay to enjoy social media, and it's absolutely okay to just go through and have a look and see what's going on and go, whoa, half an hour's just passed, and that's fine. We've created this idea that that's not okay. It's totally okay to switch off and just scroll away. But what's not so good is when we start being really self-critical while doing that.
Yeah, and I think the process I've found of getting to that point where I am that self-aware, I feel very grateful that I am self-aware. I can alter my behaviours and think, oh, I'm thinking like this, and thought work and stuff. But actually getting on top and being so self-aware of yourself is quite a skill, isn't it? It's something you have to learn.
It is. And mindset, I call it mindset mastery. Like you said, it's ongoing work and it's a skill. You're not just born feeling that way, but we weren't born knowing lots of things. When we learned to walk, we fell down, we had challenges, but we got up. We asked for support. We used support, we used tables, and I always use the example of learning to walk because my little boy is 2 years old, and so I remember very vividly myself of him, falling, bump, oh, right, okay, up I get again. And now he's tearing around like it's easy, but occasionally he'll fall down, just like we do as adults. Oh, right, let's get up again. And I think it's really important to think of that analogy when it comes to your mindset work, that having a positive mindset, as I do, doesn't mean you never have a bad day. It doesn't mean that things always go swimmingly. I can't control a lot of what goes on in the world, and I can't control a lot of what happens. But what I can control is how I feel and how I respond to different situations. And that, learning that and practicing that is really powerful. And I see mindset mastery as a daily practice.
Is there any specific things you do as part of your daily practice?
Yes, so two main things that I would recommend everyone do, and that's affirmations. I like to do mine in the morning, but they can come to you whenever you need them. I have some work ones, so I've got them right next to me, my sort of work related ones, but I like them on a bathroom mirror, so it's first thing I see in the morning, and practicing affirmations, not just thinking, oh yeah, I am good enough, wishy-washy. No, looking in the mirror, looking yourself in the eye and telling yourself something: I am good enough. I am enough, I do enough, I have enough. These are really, really powerful words, and different affirmations depending on what you're working on. So if you're thinking of money mindset, you'd have specific money related ones maybe, or even time related ones. So there's an abundance of affirmations out there, but practicing them, looking in the mirror and repeating that 5 to 10 times. And the first time you do it might feel a bit silly. But after time, it really does, because your brain actually makes it easier for you to process those thoughts. And the easier it is for you to process those thoughts, the more natural and generalized those thoughts become. Therefore, you stop deleting evidence not to support them, and you start discovering and embracing the evidence to support them. It really, really does work. So that's my number one thing, is affirmations. And then every evening, and again, you can do this any time of day, but I love to do it in the evening, is a gratitude practice. And I do both of these in my free group, Lemonade, Mindset Mastery with Lauren Malone. And what you can find there is just a post that says, just talk about what you're grateful for. I do it every day, and I think through. Sometimes they're quite profound things. Sometimes they're really basic things. Some days I'm not in the mood. And actually, those are the days where it's even more powerful, because what you find when you practice gratitude is that sense of looking for the positive in a situation becomes more natural. Again, just like with the affirmations, it just becomes more natural. So rather than seeing everything as not so good when things go wrong, because they do, and you can start going, okay, so this isn't so bad actually. This is what's good from it, and that's really powerful.
I think that the affirmations and gratitude, it's the analogy I love to think about in this is when you're thinking about buying a car and all of a sudden everywhere you go you see
Yes.
that make and model of car,
Yeah.
because your brain is tuned in to
Yeah.
noticing that more. And
Yeah.
affirmations and gratitude work in that same way, don't they? So if you are saying those statements to yourself, or appreciating the small things or the big things, or just appreciating anything
Yeah.
and in the moment, you are more likely to see it more often, aren't you, and feel that way more often.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, the analogy of the car is a really, really good one. And basically what's happening is your brain cannot process all the information that it is bombarded with, because it's just too much. We wouldn't be able to function. And so I always refer to it as like a little PA in my head. And they're processing that information, and a lot of it, yeah, just gets deleted because it's not important. But it also can get deleted if it doesn't support your narrative at the moment or your beliefs. And so the car analogy is everyone had a red Honda Civic, but as soon as you decided that's what you wanted, you start noticing them because it starts to fit with your story and your narrative.
Yeah, if someone had never done any affirmations, because I'm always sort of conscious of a certain couple of my friends who, I mean, I've been doing stuff like this for ages, and I've got a really positive mindset, so I'm the example that it works. And even with running my businesses, it works. You know, having a bad day, I've got a toolkit that I refer to, that if I'm having a bad day, I do a certain few things. I have my daily toolkit, and then like the toolkit plus that I put into practice. And it always, most of the time, if it doesn't turn me around, I'm going to be poorly like the next day. That's the sort of thing. But I'm very conscious that some people, this is so new to them. Even though, I mean, in America, it's probably been going for years. I mean, it's been going for years all over the world, but you know what I mean, more commonly spoken about. What affirmations is a really good place to start for somebody who's never done them before?
Again, it really is quite important for the affirmations to be the right ones for you. And there's lots of places, there's apps you can get, there's free apps that will give you affirmations. In my group Lemonade, every morning I post a different affirmation, so there's inspiration there. I also have a free guide, and I'm happy to share the link with your viewers. It has a list of over 25 affirmations, and that's specifically designed to help people with imposter syndrome. But it can also give people inspiration. And what you'll find is you see one, you go, oh, okay, I quite like that one. And there'll be ones you go, oh no, not in a minute, not ready for that. And it doesn't mean you'll never be ready for it. It just means maybe not quite right. But the important thing with affirmations is they're affirmative. So I am whatever it is. Not I will be. Not wouldn't it be nice if. It's I am whatever. I am confident. I am positive. I am healthy. I am making lots of money. Whatever it is you choose, it's natural to feel a bit strange at first because it's new and you're consciously practicing. But just like learning to walk, just like learning to ride a bike, that felt strange at first as well.
And when I read your stuff, you said that you have studied neuroscience and psychology, because a lot of the reason why people may be unsure of doing these practices is because it doesn't seem like they would have maybe a physical impact on us, our brains in a way. Is there sort of research with neuroscience and psychology to support the use of those kinds of things?
Yes. So we know that our self-talk, so that's our thoughts, our beliefs and values, that's the unconscious sort of self-talk really, but the deeply unconscious stuff, and our physiology. So, our physiology is our hormones, neurotransmitters, and those chemicals. Think dopamine, serotonin, and they're the good ones, but also adrenaline and cortisol, and they're the not so good ones, the stress hormones. And what we want to do is we know that they work together. So, what we're trying to do with mindset mastery is go, well, hold on, what's going on right now? How do I counteract or work with this? And what you're doing when you do affirmations, for example, is you are basically self talk. You're very clearly saying, this is what my self talk is going to be. And that will impact your beliefs and it will impact your physiology. You will release positive hormones, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, those love hormones. And what they do is, like dopamine, for example, is like a reward hormone. So it basically is saying to you, yes, I'll have some more of that. That feels really, really good. And every time you think it, your brain releases a substance called myelin, which is one of my favorites because it's like greasing the tracks. It basically makes it easier for your brain to think those thoughts every time, which is why over time, affirmations, you just think them quickly. Oh gosh, yeah, I am confident. Yeah, I am thinking that. And I haven't had to practice so much. Time for a new affirmation. And that's what's really amazing. Yes, there is stuff going on physically that impacts you on a mental level. We are really understanding through sort of quantum biology that actually the mind isn't just part of the brain. We now know the gut plays a huge part in our nervous system. But think of the mind as like every cell in your body, and approaching mindset mastery as something of understanding the real, i.e., the physical, and the unreal, i.e., not physical. They're actually working together.
Wow. Thinking your mind in every cell of your body. That's amazing. I've never come across that before, but it makes sense because if you come, I always find that if I've got one of those ideas, one of those ideas that just aligns with everything that you want, it aligns with your goals, you feel you've got the energy to achieve it, and the idea comes through and you like get a bit of goose pimples or something. Yeah. That's obviously the reaction, and that makes perfect sense matching up with what you're saying about the mind being everywhere and not just in the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. There are times when we get up and we walk away from something without even really knowing how that happened, and it's not till afterwards we go, okay, I was trying to get away from something. That's our feet, our brain and our feet working together, our mind being one and the same and actually all connected. It's incredibly powerful. And, actually being aware that the outside stuff, so our behavior on the outside, what we're saying out loud and how we're saying it, that all impacts the internal stuff as well.
When you decided to go into this kind of work, where was the biggest transformation in your life? Because obviously you're now working with other women to transform their life. But for you, where did you start, and where do you feel like you are now with the transformation?
So I think there was a moment where I really sort of had a mindset shift and things completely changed for me. And that was when I was studying NLP at practitioner level. I've gone on to study at master practitioner level. But I was studying something called timeline therapy, which is basically the process of releasing negative emotions and removing those limiting beliefs. And what's great about timeline therapy is it's pretty quick. You can have a sort of one session of about 3 to 4 hours, and that's it. That deep limiting belief that's been holding you back is gone, it's removed, and you can start creating a new belief that does serve you and creating new evidence. But the work doesn't stop. Like we said, mindset mastery is an ongoing process. But for me, it was going through timeline therapy and removing that limiting belief of I'm not good enough. And my life changed from that moment. I not only suddenly said, oh yeah, I could start my business. By that evening, I'd chosen my business name. I had also, it was all going on. It was happening. And it wasn't just, oh, one day I'll do that. It was a case of this is happening. I am going to create my future how I want it to be. And for me, that was the most powerful mindset shift moment. But you can create the same effect. It might take a little bit longer. It might not be as sort of obvious as it felt for me, but there are lots of different techniques, and affirmations and gratitude practice are all part of that. So don't feel like, oh well, I haven't had the timeline therapy yet, I better wait. No, get started on your affirmations, because it's all making a difference.
So how does timeline therapy work?
So I'd recommend always working with a trained
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, and it's an NLP linguistic coaching technique. So think hypnosis.
Mm.
You go into a very light trance. And when I say a light trance, you can always come out and go into deeper trance with whatever you want. You are in control, whatever level of trance you go into within hypnosis. But what I'm encouraging my clients to do is go into a light trance, and we go back to a time in their life where they first felt a negative emotion or first decided to believe a limiting belief. Think of the timeline on social media. We can scroll through our timelines and we can go back to what happened and into that moment. And it's that sort of idea that we can go back to a past event, whether it was a real event, whether it's an event that the unconscious mind has buried and brings up when you're ready, or if it's completely made up and it's a metaphor for something. It really doesn't matter about consciously remembering it. Releasing those feelings that we're holding on to. We talk about holding on to baggage from our past. And what timeline therapy is all about is not throwing that baggage away, because we can't turn back time and pretend things didn't happen, but putting that baggage down and feeling that lightness and that sense of freedom that's going, hold on, I don't need to be carrying you anymore, and stepping forward without it. That's what timeline therapy is all about. And I've got a really good blog that goes into details about what is timeline therapy. So,
Oh, well, yeah, well, I'll add the link to the show notes,
yeah, absolutely.
definitely.
Thank you.
Danny, that's so interesting. I just think people, it's exploring that idea that your negative thoughts or your limiting beliefs aren't true. They're not. When you're talking about just now about starting your business, that idea that I'm going to start a business, and you don't worry about the how, and you have that direction, do you? You sort of, 'cause I've been the same. I'm going to do I remember deciding to do my master's degree. I didn't know how I was going to do it with the workload I had at the time. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start another business. I'm going to do a podcast.
Yeah.
You just think, well, I just think, well, I'll figure it out, because it's that shift of believing that you can do anything that you want to do. And I always find that I'm not, the thoughts and the ideas that I have of pushing my life further, or the things that I want to achieve, or helping people, or having ideas with people, they fit because I thought of them. And it's not, I'm not thinking to myself, I know I'm going to be the next Beyonce, or I'm going to be the next Adele, because that doesn't fit with what I'm capable of doing, and I know that, and that's fine. But it's what else am I capable of, and having those thoughts that, and I think that's a big shift for people to understand that if you've had a thought or something that you want to do, and you really feel like, I really want to do it, that you can.
Yeah.
It's that moving from that to the actually doing
what
it.
I would call shifting to an abundant mindset. So that sense of actually the possibilities are unlimited for me. And because, if I, like you said, if I want to do something, that means I can do it. And it's only me that's actually going to get in my way of not doing it, because there is always a way around it. If someone else is doing it, then absolutely you can do it. There ain't no reason why not, because we're all humans and we all have the same limitations and unlimitations.
Oh, amazing. This is so interesting. I love talking about mindset.
It's just
It's just so difficult for some people to believe that they can shift it.
it is.
And I feel, and I wish that I could tell everybody, because I've managed to shift it, because I used to have such negative thoughts all the time, and that I can't do certain things. Imposter syndrome was really loud, and I managed to, and it is work every single day though, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's really important that if you're thinking, okay, what they're saying sounds really, really great, and what I'd really like to think like that, but I just can't, is again, like when we were talking about the doom scrolling, it's not just focusing on what the problem is, it's focusing on the whole picture. And I believe, and this is what I help my clients do, is let's understand how your mindset works. So we talked about deleting and the little PA. How does your mind distort information that it's given? How does it generalize information? How does it communicate? So thinking about that physiology, the self-talk and the beliefs and how they all work together, understanding that gives you the sort of magic key really to go, right, okay, I've got that knowledge, now I can actually start using that. And I think that's really, really powerful and often gets forgotten really. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is like going, hold on, let's really explore how it all works. Then we can go and do it and work out the strategy that will work for you. And it is possible.
It is, yeah. So if people, we've won a few people round and they feel like, oh, maybe I can change my mindset. Apart from joining your group, anyone can join your Lemonade group, can't they?
It's free to join.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant group, and I'm part of it, and I probably should speak on them more. I do more reading than anything else.
That's okay.
But it is brilliant, and so you would recommend that they join your group. Yeah. Because if they don't know where to start with affirmations of gratitude, you've got the post to prompt them.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you would just, if someone was going to stop listening to this podcast right now and just start something, what would be the very first thing you would suggest?
Well, like I said, my first suggestion really would be join Lemonade, start the affirmations, start the gratitude.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, oh, do you know what? I'd actually quite like some more, then reach out. Let's have a conversation about that, because I might not be the business and mind coach for you. I can't be the business and mind coach for everybody. Fortunately, there's lots of others out there and there is the right fit. And what we can do is have a conversation about where you're at now and what possibly solutions there are, because there's lots of different ones that possibly you haven't even considered yet.
Yeah.
That you could embrace, that could really not just help with how you're feeling right now, but also grow your business and turn those dreams that at the moment seem ridiculous into actual reality.
Yeah, and it is possible. Oh, I love that. If you could tell yourself something, whenever I ask this question, or I never can get it out because it's like the only scripted part of the podcast, and I can't get the words out. So if you could tell yourself something 10 years ago that you know now, but you'd wish you'd known then, what do you think it would be?
It's a really tricky question, because I don't believe in any kind of regrets or don't do this or start earlier or anything like that, because everything I've done so far has brought me on this journey. And, part of me goes, oh, wouldn't it have been nice if I'd got rid of that limiting belief 5-10 years earlier? Well, yeah, it would have been lovely, but I wouldn't be sat here having this amazing conversation if that had been the case. Who knows where I'd be, and I'm not there, so it doesn't matter really. But I think, if I could go back, it's just sort of saying, it's gonna be fine. As you go through, you'll be all right, and don't regret anything, because life's too short really, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're in the exact place you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren, for coming on. This has been really, really amazing. I'll put all of the details and the link to your Facebook group in the show notes. If anyone wants to join up, definitely do, because I couldn't recommend it anymore. It's brilliant. And and where else can people find you? Your website and stuff.
Yeah, the best place to find me, and all my links to groups and my blog and the freebies and stuff are all there. So it's www.lemontreecd.co.uk.
Oh, amazing. And you're on Instagram as well?
Yes. So the link's on my website, but on Instagram, I'm at Lauren Malone _EE. And the EE actually stands for Expecting Entrepreneur, because that's the name of my book.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, and you've got a book as well.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Start again.
And is it for sale? Is it sort of like on Amazon or anything like that?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. All good online retailers. It's been out for just over a year. So it was published just before my son's first birthday, and he's just turned 2.
Oh, amazing.
Again, I cover a lot of this stuff. So if you're thinking, well, I'm not pregnant, don't worry. It's just using that as a sort of analogy, and my story of starting a business when pregnant, as the story of how you can basically do anything you want to when you put your mind to it.
Amazing. I'll put the link for that as well. Thank you so much, Lauren. Amazing. Thank
So much for
you.
inviting me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. My
Oh,
cheeks are sore from smiling. It's been
oh,
such a wonderful
good.
conversation.
Lovely. Oh, thank you, Lauren.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivi podcast, written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother, Phil Vidler.